Welcome to New Stream. Our platform offers seamless streaming. With cutting-edge technology, join us today. Hi, I'm Tam. Thanks for joining us here in the studio. Let's take a look at how to keep our characters consistent.
Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are going to tackle one of the biggest, most common frustrations in AI art. How in the world do you get a character to look like the same person from one image to the next? Well, let's dive in and finally solve this thing. You've totally been there, right? You spend all of this time creating the perfect character, you nail their look, you love it, but then you try to put them in a new scene, and poof, suddenly they've got a completely different face. This character drift, it's a huge creative roadblock. And this right here is the perfect example of the problem. Over on the right, that's the identity crisis we all know and hate. Same prompts, but three totally different people. But on the left, that is control. That is consistency. And that is exactly what we are going to build today. So how do we get that control? You might think the answer is just a more complex prompt, cramming in more and more descriptive words. But the real secret, the real power, comes from giving the AI a structured plan, a blueprint that locks in your character's identity for good. And that blueprint is what we call the character reference sheet. Now, this isn't just another picture. It is an incredibly powerful tool that takes the AI from being a random chaotic generator and turns it into your reliable, creative partner. So what is it exactly? Well, a character reference sheet is basically a visual guide. It's one single image that shows your character from all the important angles: front, back, side, maybe even showing off a few different expressions. Think of it as the master key that you hand to the AI that says, hey, this is the person, don't forget them. And here's the amazing part. To create this powerful sheet, you don't need a dozen different complicated prompts. Nope. You just need one, a single, really well-structured master prompt. You can think of this prompt as the brain and the skeleton that tells the AI not just what to draw, but how to organize it all. So this master prompt, it really breaks down into four essential parts. We've got the role, which acts as the AI's brain. Then there's the layout, which is the skeleton. After that, we have the content, that's the soul. And finally, the style, which is the whole atmosphere that brings it to life. Let's break each one down. Okay, first step, the role. This is where you tell the AI who it should be for this task. So instead of just saying, draw an android, you assign it a job. For a cyberpunk android, you might tell the AI to act as an industrial mecha designer. And that one little switch is huge. It forces the AI to think about mechanics, components, and structure, not just about making a pretty face. Next up, the layout. If the role is the brain, this is the skeleton of your reference sheet. You have to tell it how to be organized. You can literally specify a layout with, say, 4 vertical columns for a Viking character to make sure you get distinct poses. Or you can ask for a turnaround grid to get that classic 3D model sheet look. This structure is what stops you from getting a chaotic jumble of images. Now we get to the soul of the prompt, the content. And this is where the real storytelling happens. For our cyberpunk android, instead of asking for something boring like clothing layers, we can ask for a deconstruction. We can prompt for its internal titanium skeleton, the hydraulic pipes, the exposed wiring. We're literally telling the AI to peel back the skin and show us the machine inside. And that brings us to this really crucial idea. When we change these content details, swapping out a leather-bound diary for a glitched data drive or lipstick for energy cells, we're doing so much more than just changing objects. We are fundamentally changing the character's narrative. And finally, we have the style. This is what sets the mood. Asking for a parchment background gives you that old-school Da Vinci sketch vibe, which is perfect for a fantasy warrior. But for our android, no way. We swap that out for a holographic dark blueprint with digital UI text, and instantly the whole atmosphere shifts from ancient to high-tech. All right, that's enough theory. Let's get our hands dirty and actually put this into practice. We're going to walk through creating your very first character sheet. And trust me, this is where the magic really happens. And it all begins with just one image. Let's say you've already generated a character you love, like this gentleman here. The big challenge? He's got a really distinct facial scar. Now, that's exactly the kind of unique detail that AI usually loves to just forget or change completely in new images. Our goal is to lock that scar in permanently. And boom, here is the result. We feed that one single image into our master prompt, and we get this incredible character sheet. And just look closely. That scar, it's flawlessly consistent across every single pose. The front view, the side profile, the three-quarter view, the character's identity is officially locked. Okay, so you've made your first sheet. You've got the basics down. What now? Well, this is where things get really, really exciting, because that reference sheet isn't the finish line. It's the key that unlocks a whole new universe of creative control. Once you have that sheet, you can start doing amazing things. You can swap outfits, you can age your character forward or backward in time, you can maintain incredibly complex textures and details, you can create scenes with multiple consistent characters, and you can even apply all of this to non-human creatures. Let's take a quick look at a few. So let's start with swapping outfits. Imagine your character is a gritty detective who always wears a trench coat. Well, now you can take their reference sheet, give the AI an image of a fancy tuxedo, and boom, you can instantly place them undercover at a high society gala. It is the exact same person, same face, same identity, but now you're telling a totally different part of their story. Or what about this one? Character aging. I mean, this is an absolute game changer for storytellers. You can take your character sheet and just add a simple prompt like age by 30 years or make them a teenager. All of a sudden, you can create believable flashbacks for your story or flash forwards to show the consequences of their actions. You can tell a story that spans an entire lifetime, all with one consistent face. And this technique isn't just for people. It is amazing at maintaining the tiny little details that make a design special. Think about it. The exact pattern of rust and dents on your sci-fi robot, or the specific scales and cartoonish grin on a stylized crocodile character. The character sheet memorizes that visual DNA, making sure your unique creations don't get watered down into something generic. And now we get to what has always felt like the holy grail of AI art, multi-character scenes. For so long, this was basically impossible. But now you can take the reference sheet for your Viking hero and the sheet for your fantasy warrior and use both of them in a single prompt. You can finally have them stand side by side in a tavern or back to back in a battle, and they both look perfectly themselves. At this point, you're not just a creator anymore, you're a director. So if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this. All of that advanced control, from changing a character's clothes to building entire worlds with a consistent cast, it all comes back to one thing. One single, well-crafted, powerfully structured character sheet. So now you have the blueprint. You have the tools to go from chaos to control, to finally bring your characters to life with the consistency they've always deserved. The only question left is, what story are you going to tell first?
Subscribe, like, and share so that you don't miss out on the director's playbook. Coming soon.